And we're live. It's the Mindstate Marketing Hour with Will Leach. He's our favorite mad scientist. And today's topic is Spring Clean Your Marketing, how to evaluate campaigns, determine whether your strategy is going to work or not this summer. He's the author of Marketing to Mind States, the gloves, the wand, the book with a new look. Will, how are you, brother?
Doing pretty good today. Doing pretty good. Going to talk about something brass tacks, things that we should all be thinking about is whether or not our marketing is successful. So it's going to be a fun show. A little bit more intricate than normal, but it'll be fun.
Well, good. I'm excited. I enjoy these shows. It's the Mindstate Marketing Hour, and we're learning how to use science to connect better with our clients. And this is all based on Will's book, Marketing to Mind States. If you don't have this book, I exhort you to just go over to Amazon and order this book. It'll change your mindset about your marketing message. Because if you haven't read his book, then here's what I can pretty much guarantee you is that your marketing message is a one-size-fits-all message. And just like when you go to TJ Maxx, you're not going to buy a shirt that says one size fits all. And you shouldn't do that to your clients, the folks that you want to attract, the ones that you want to build trust and connect with. They don't want a one size fits all message. They want a unique message. Why? Because they're unique. Is that right, Will?
That's exactly right. We should treat people like they are special because we are all special. So your marketing should do the same thing, my friend. That's what Marketing to Mind States does. It tells you how to do it to make your messaging more intuitive. And the most intuitive messaging is the safest messaging, like you say. And the safest messaging is the stuff that we notice and react to. So that's what we're talking about.
You can learn more at the mindstategroup.com. So today's topic, Spring Clean Your Marketing, how to evaluate your campaigns to determine whether your strategy is paying off. Where's this coming from, Will? I know something happened recently.
Well, this is the classic. We're just out of quarter one. If anybody out there is in corporate America, they know exactly what that means. Everyone is looking at their numbers and saying, how am I doing against plan? If you're a small business owner, you're probably thinking the same thing. I had some expectations around making a certain amount of money this quarter, and I'm either doing great, I'm soft, or I'm in a lot of trouble. So I always like to think about the first quarter of any year is like time for spring cleaning. Look at all the things that you're doing, and give it a run through to see whether it's working for you or if it's not. And if it isn't working for you, how can you figure out what to do better? So it's a good time. Just like you're cleaning up your house, you should be cleaning up your marketing as well.
So every month I meet with a group of folks. They're business owners like you and me, and marketing always comes up. And marketing success doesn't come from luck. It comes from science. There's a 4-step process, how to evaluate it. But we were talking about how there's a big M and a little m. Big marketing, little marketing. Little marketing is generally what everybody focuses on, a tactic. Posting on LinkedIn. Maybe I need to do a boost or something on Facebook. But the big M comes from the strategy world, from connecting with your why. And that's what I love about your book is it helps us work on the big M stuff.
Very much so. I think if you don't have your big M correctly knocked out, then your little M's are less effective. Doesn't mean they're not going to work for you, but they're going to be less consistent, probably, for sure. So no, I like that. I like that group. Sounds like it's a good group there. So yeah, you know what? I was sitting here, Steve, and I thought to myself, I think a lot of people, including me when I first started doing this, was thinking like, man, if I could just go viral, like you just want to create something that's viral. You're always hoping that something's going to go viral for you. And if you're thinking that and you're going to get lucky by going viral, you're in a lot of trouble, guys. There is science behind tracking, and it's mathematics, really. I'm going to show you some simple things you can do to get a better feel. But I think, I work with a lot of clients and coaches, and they're like, it's all about marketing is all about getting sales. It's about getting sales. And it's actually, I'm going to tell you, that's probably not the right metric. So let me break some things down for you guys. First off is marketing for most of you out there is really to provide leads, And then leads go to sales in some form. Somebody who we feel like is asking questions, who wants to learn more about our offers. You hand a lead to somebody in sales, and then they have a call with them, some sort of a negotiation to get a sale. We're going to talk about marketing, because if you're not getting revenue, sometimes it's a sales issue, and that's a totally different issue that we don't have to worry about in marketing. Marketing is all about getting qualified leads into the door, and you can do that one of two ways. You can do something called organic, which is just, Steve, what you just said, right? You post something on LinkedIn, you bring out something, you do a podcast, you get on stage, you speak. This is organic. These are things that you're generally not paying for. But then there's also something called paid advertising, something that you and I all know about, right? It's like a commercial of some kind, right? So the way marketing works is, for you to get leads, you want to do something that's organic, posting on social media, getting up on stage, writing a book, all these things, lots of things you can do. And then there are paid advertisements that you can use. So the idea here is you need to first understand and map out all those different points. And I'll tell you how I've done it, and I'll tell you mine. And then you got to track those metrics, man. You got to be able to track those metrics by channel.
Math is scary. I avoided math. Math was like, I hated math class. And yet it's the universal language.
If you're not using math in your business, you are flying blind. Imagine if, your pilot doesn't understand math on an airplane. You're flying blind. A lot of bad things can happen. So, guys, it doesn't have to be, we're not talking about crazy calculations, but you got to do some tracking. And so I'm going to show you kind of how I do it, right? This is how I do it. So just first off, I think it's really important for you to do is think through how are you getting leads? Remember, we're talking about leads, right? So let me tell you what I do. I have all sorts of ways of getting leads, and then I'm going to focus us on one for kind of a case study. So first off, we do a podcast, we do a live show. I do emails. I send emails out. I have email campaigns. In fact, if I need to use those, I do paid advertising through Facebook and through YouTube sometimes. I have downloads you can get on my website. I do LinkedIn, just regular posts on LinkedIn. I have a blog. I have weekly videos. I have a book. I have a Facebook group. So I know that sounds like a lot, right? So, and it is, right? I don't think everyone should have all that stuff. Thank you, Steve, for giving me most of that stuff. But let's focus on one of those things. Because if you think, I got to get leads, and you don't know how your leads are coming in, you lack this ability to know attribution. And attribution is understanding which of those things are giving you the best leads and then most leads. So that's a whole other discussion. But first, let's just talk about, the first thing, which would be, how, or my 4-step process, right? How do you define success? So here's the first thing you got to do. Let me just give you an example. I use I have a channel that I use for paid advertising. Here's what I do. I run ads on Facebook to people who I believe are in my target market. I then send those people an advertisement on Facebook. Then they are hopefully going to click on my ad and go to register to watch a free training video that's live 24/7. It's always up. And then from there, they will schedule a call with me. If the training does really well, they'll schedule a call. So it's a very simple 3-step process. Facebook ad sends them to a webinar, which then hopefully qualifies them, and they want to go and book a call directly with me. So, number 1, define what success looks like in marketing, in your marketing strategy. So you're going to want to figure out for your business, what is success? And it's like, I want as much money as possible, right? Status people say, I just want money. I want as much money as possible. That is interesting. That's an interesting number to have, but that is nothing I can really make decisions on. Steve, do you have like a success metric, or is it just get as much money as I want, right? Which one is it for you?
No, it's like, before you can get the money, though, you need to have some conversations.
That's right. Yes. Thank you for saying that.
Okay.
Yep.
And so then from those conversations, we would have an expected outcome that would happen there. And that's when we can decide whether we have a good fit or not. Then we go next to the payment stage, the agreement stage, and the onboarding.
That's right. I love where you started. You didn't start with the money. You started with the conversation.
Mhm.
So let me tell you how I get to that number of conversations I need. And this is a back of the envelope kind of calculation. I said to myself, this is step number one, how much do I want to make each week? And I put a number down. And I'm not saying I make this much money, but I want to make $35,000 every week. Lofty goal. So $35,000 each week. Then I say to myself, okay, how many how many products do I need to sell to make $35,000 a week? For me, that's 5. Because I sell, in general, my average price on one of my programs is $7,000. So I need to sell 5 people a week to make $35,000. Sounds pretty easy, right? Okay, 5 people. However, Steve, you know this. When people call you, not everyone wants to buy. Some people just want to talk about the weather. Some people want some free information. Some people want to buy, but they can't buy, etc. So the next thing you got to do is say, well, if I convert, how many people that I get on a call, what percentage of those people do I convert? So on my best day, a good rule of thumb is 25%. So imagine out of every 4 people, one of those people says, yep, I want to buy right now. Lots of people say, I'm going to think about it. That's great. But let's say you're converting at 25%. That means for me to get 5 conversions, I need 20 calls a week. Guys, that is the number I want you to start tracking. The number, like Steve said, the number of conversations you need per week. You need to get, for me to make 35,000, I need to have 20 calls per week under that criteria. Now I want to start evaluating my campaigns on their ability to get me 20 calls per week. If I can get 20 people on the phone, then hopefully I'm going to get pretty close to that $35,000 a week.
Yeah. So then it's like, all right, well, how can I have more of these conversations? Now there's math that's kind of giving us some insights on where maybe we should invest a little more activity because it's showing that we're getting some traction.
That's exactly right. And we're not going to go to it too much, but you're going to find out that to have those conversations, you may need to pay more money. So it's a simple mathematical problem that paid advertising does for you. Now, organic is a little bit tougher, but if it's paid advertising, if you're using paid advertising, you can do a back of the envelope calculation to say, if I want these 20 calls per week, it may cost me this much money to get those calls. It's actually relatively easy to do. So go ahead.
I was going to say that you're able to spend this money now, and you're in a better position because you have the systems and processes set up for folks to land, find what they expected, and see what they're supposed to do next, which is schedule a call with you.
That's absolutely right. If you don't have that system, then you're lacking the ability to do those conversions on a consistent basis. And if you're not converting, if those numbers don't hold true, if like I said, 25% of my calls, if some weeks it's 80 and then I go 4 weeks without getting any, there's an issue. That means your system's broke. You don't have a correct system. And so you have to have a system so you can bet on these calculations so you know how much money you should be paying in advertising to get you those calls. So how do you know if your system's broke? You're going to collect data on how well your marketing efforts are performing. So first, we have to figure out that data. Secondly, let's collect data. So let's go back to my Facebook routine, right? Here's what I'm trying to do. I think about my funnel. I think about my system. I say, I need to send people an advertisement. Those people have to go to a registration page so they can put in some information so they can watch my free video. And if my video does well, they're going to go ahead and hopefully schedule a call with me. So there's a 4-step process if you think about it. First thing I got to do is I got to think to myself, how many people are seeing my ad and clicking, I want to learn more. That's something called click-through rate. And that's the percentage of people on Facebook or any social media channel. That's the percentage of people who see your ad and decide to click, right? I got to collect that information because if I don't know the percentage of people that are going to click on my ad, or if that percentage is very, very low, then it costs me a lot of money to get enough people to go through the entire funnel to buy my product. So you got to collect that information. I'm going to tell you what number you're going to look for in just a second. Second thing I got to do is say, okay, so if somebody clicks my button or clicks that ad, what is the number and the percentage of people that are actually registering? So yeah, they could click my ad. They could go to a landing page. They could see this information about my webinar and all those great things they're going to learn. But a lot of people just jump. They're like, nah, that's not for me. So I got to know how many people are jumping who are not doing that. right? And I'm gonna tell you why, because if a lot of people are jumping and they're not watching your webinar, you know something's wrong on that page. You know there's something written on that page that is not getting people excited enough to actually watch the video. Third, you're gonna want to collect is, when people start your video, do they end the video? Like, okay, so I registered for your video, but do they actually watch the video? Sometimes people download it, they don't watch it. Sometimes people, they register and they're like, oh wait, I don't have 30 minutes right now. I'll get back to another time. So there's a lot of people that may register to watch your video, but they never actually watch it. That's a big important thing, right? Because you want to know the numbers of people that are actually watching your video. Because if a bunch of people start your video and they end, we know there's an issue then inside your video. And then lastly, at the very end of my video, Steve, I say, listen, you just learned a lot of great things. Hopefully, if you want to learn more, if you want to learn how to take your business to the next level, click a button and schedule a call with me. I need to understand what percentage of people click that button. Because if people watch the entire video and then they don't schedule the call, my video may be entertaining, it may have been interesting, but they lacked confidence in me to actually call. And so those are just the 4 basic metrics I need to start collecting, because if there's a block in that system, if there's a hiccup in that system, I need to know where to focus that system, where to focus my efforts on the system to make sure it's cleaner, it's more reliable, etc. So those are the 4 metrics that I collect just to know whether or not that funnel or that system is working.
You know, what's interesting is that, I learned this when we started posting videos on YouTube. There's a whole set of metrics that you can gain from posting a video and watching people where their interest goes up, where they drop off, maybe what they did. You get a lot more insight than you do just with maybe a white paper.
Oh yeah, very
And
much so.
And so that's really cool that you do the videos, because you're getting a lot more insight. Plus, it's more interactive. It's more compelling when you watch someone and get to know them, because of that trust factor too.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah, I think video is it will be the entire medium in the decade. I don't think people will read it all. I think it'll all be video. So
step 3 here.
Yep. So I've been collecting data. Great. I collected those 4 metrics, right? Now you have to analyze that. Like, are you doing good? Or are you doing bad? So let's go back to my Facebook example. So I send Facebook ads to people. Depending on my spend, I could get 1,000 people to 10,000 people a day. Technically, I could send 1 million people if I wanted to, if I just kept throwing money at Facebook, right? So what you got to do is think to yourself, or you got to get this thing called the CTR, click-through rate. And what the data would tell you, what my data would tell you is that I want to have the percentage of people who see or have my ad placed in their feed and they click that button. This is going to sound funny to you, but this is actually a pretty good rule of thumb. If you're above 1%, you're doing pretty well. Like if you're at 1.5 or 2%, you're doing really well. It's really hard. I mean, imagine, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, where the average person scrolls the length of the Statue of Liberty every day on their cell phone, right? They just keep scrolling.
That's crazy.
So it's hard to get somebody to click on your ad. It's very difficult. So if you get 1%, you want that CTR percent to be 1% or greater. If it's not, right? For instance, if it's not, then there are some things you're going to want to start to adjust. Now I'm going to talk about that. Well, actually, I'll talk about it right now. If, for instance, if it's less than 1% of people, that means that visual, that whatever that picture is that you have on that ad or that video you have, and the headline of that ad, it's not working. It's not getting people to click on that button. So if that's below 1%, you need to focus on the visual and that headline. That's what you focus on. If you go to the next stage, if let's say you're above 1%, you're good. Okay, good. Let's go to the next metric. The next metric is percentage of people that actually went to the registration page, put in the information, right? So imagine you go to Facebook, you press a button, and then all of a sudden a registration page comes up, says, hey, you want to watch this free video. At that point, a lot of people, it sounds funny because you're like, they just click the button, but a lot of people get to that landing page. You know this, Steve, and they're like, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. I don't know where you took me. I want to get out. I didn't know it was going to take me here. So the metric you're looking for is about 20% for me. If I'm doing more than 20%, so only 1 in 5, will come to that landing page and go, yep, I want to go and put in my information to get this webinar. Free, by the way. It's a free webinar, guys. It's free. But still, there's just so much distrust in the marketplace. So many people don't know if you're trying to steal from them or whatever. So 1 in 5. So I'm looking for a 20%. If my metrics show 1 in 10, let's say if I'm at 10%, I know that my issue is something on that landing page is not building trust. Hey, Levio, good to see you. We know that it's not building trust. We can tell. So it's that landing page. I got to focus on that. Maybe the visual is not right. Maybe it's not clear on what they're going to learn, but there's something off on that landing page. The third metric, if I get to the landing page and I see that people are starting the video, but then they're not playing the video, they're not watching the video, they registered for it. So we know that they want the video. We know that they want it. But if only, what I'm looking for there is 1 in 2. So 50% of people. Because life is complex. I get the fact that some people will start a video, they'll see that it's a half hour and they'll walk away, right? I totally get that. Or that people will place a video aside and they think they're going to look for it later or whatever. So I want 50% conversion on my video. If I'm not getting 50% conversion, I know that there's a follow-up issue. I know that I need to resend somebody some emails like, hey, I noticed you didn't see my video or you didn't watch the whole video. Here it is again. I got to remind them to watch that video. And then the last thing was if somebody watches the entire video and then I'm looking for basically 20% or more of people who are scheduling time with me. So again, that's not horribly difficult, but that's it but I mean, it is kind of in a way, if you think about it, because that means that 1 in 5 people have to feel so much trust in me. They don't know me at all. They found me through a Facebook ad, Steve, right? I haven't had enough time to build much trust. They gave me 30 minutes of their day. I need to try to convert them at 20%. If I get 1 in 5 of those people, I feel really good. Again, if it's less than that, I know that my video is not giving them what they need to feel that either that they trust me or that there's a pain that's big enough to where they need help. Because sometimes videos are informational, but they don't really realize that their business needs help. So that means my video, my training needs to change in some way. See, guys, where I'm going? Like, I wouldn't know where to focus if that funnel's broken. If I'm not getting enough of those calls that I want, all I need is 20 calls, right? 20 calls a day. Or 20 calls a week. Sorry, 20 calls a week. If I'm not getting that, I now know where to focus. It's going to be either my Facebook ad, it's going to be on that landing page, it's going to be on me being able to follow up with somebody because I'm not following up with enough people on that training, or it's in the training video itself.
So then you have the power or the option to sit and evaluate your wording, the images, your calls to action. So it gives you, and
That's exactly right.
there's a book written on how to address those.
We go back to the strategy, right? Because if you're looking at your landing page and you think it should be working, but it's not, chances are you are speaking to somebody in a one-size-fits-all way, and it's not tapping into their subconscious. We know that the subconscious drives the vast majority of decisions out there, the vast, vast, vast majority. So that's an example of right there. It's like, this landing page isn't working and you feel good about it. And some landing pages are just bad. They're confusing, for instance. So go find somebody who's really smart at clearly communicating your value prop. Like good agencies like you, Steve, you do that all day long. You make things very clear and compelling. But if you feel like it's clear and compelling, they're not getting it, you're not tapping into the subconscious. You're doing great messaging that's ineffective because you're doing a one-size-fits-all messaging. So that's why you now know how to change those dynamics to hopefully get you more leads, which will help you give you more revenues.
So let's take action. Do you have an example of maybe an action you took on some of your analysis?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. I'll tell you where I stand on it right now. So for those of you who know anything about Facebook, well, you and I talked about this a couple of months ago, right, Steve? iOS 14 on Apple changed Facebook advertising for a lot of people, me included, meaning that it hurt us really badly. What iOS 14 did was it allowed people who had an iPhone to basically say, I don't want to be tracked on any social media. Basically, you had to opt into being tracked. Now, how Facebook targets people is it understands through all, when you sign up for Facebook, guys, I hope you know this, it's allowing Facebook to track everywhere you go on the web. So what Facebook was doing was collecting all this information about you so that when Will Leach wanted to market to you, I could say, I want people who are plumbers, who live in the Midwest, who subscribe to Sports Illustrated, who also know Steve from ROI. Like you can get very detailed targeting and I can send an ad to them. When iOS 14 happened, all those metrics blew up for many, many people. So what happened to me almost overnight was that I was spending the same amount of money and getting fewer and fewer clicks. Why? Because Facebook still wants the money. So they're just saying, I'm not going to target the way I used to target. I'm just going to send your ad out to everybody. And I could be sending ads out to at-home moms who don't have a business. Well, my ad doesn't mean anything to her. So Facebook doesn't care. Facebook says, well, we're going to try to do our best, right? So Facebook, a couple of months ago, this happened to a lot of people. So I had to reconfigure my targeting. I had to go back into Facebook, and they started saying, hey, things that you used to target on, it's no longer that, we don't have that variable anymore, because we weren't able to track that variable anymore because so many people opted out of tracking. So because of that, here's what you have to do. If I can't track, if I can't target you very, very clearly, I have to make my messaging and the visual image on my ad, Steve, it has to be crystal clear. It has to be incredibly compelling, because that's all I have. I can't target Steve anymore, knowing that Steve loves behavioral science. I used to actually do that. I used to say, these people are interested in behavioral science, I'm going to target them. Well, if I no longer have that variable to target, what I had to do was now figure out, how do I use my visual to, if somebody is scrolling and they have a habit and they do kind of like behavioral science, that they'll see that visual and then they'll stop. So I started changing my ad, the look and feel of my ad. Right now, that is actually, because I'm trying to refigure out that picture, and I've gone through a couple of different ads so far, and I'm not nearly as good as I used to be. So I'm hurting right now. Facebook is hurting me right now, because I'm at that CTR rate. I said I want to be at about 1 or above 1% of people that see my ad will click. I'm at sometimes 40%, or like, I'm sorry, I wish I was at 40%, 0.4%. So I'm at 0.004. So in that case, so I'm spending the same amount of money, and I'm more than half inefficient as I used to be. So I'm trying to figure this out, right? So I'm trying to do different ads. Recently, I just created a new ad where I don't have a picture at all. I basically created I created my own picture that has copy on there that's very direct, right, Steve? So I used to have a picture that's engaging, that gets somebody, oh, that's so interesting. Now I'm just, boom, it's words on a slide. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I capture somebody's attention that I can help them on behavioral science-based marketing without showing them. What I used to do is a bunch of books, or maybe a picture of Daniel Kahneman. Like, vast majority of people don't know who Daniel Kahneman is, unless you're really into the science. That used to work really well for me. It doesn't work well for me because I'm pitching my ad to so many people that do not know Daniel Kahneman. So that's hurting me right now. Another thing that's hurting me is that people are not, who I bring into the funnel, they are not watching the full video. So they're starting the training video, but they're not watching the full video. It used to not be an issue. That's always been a slight issue. So I used to have a 45-minute training video, and I started going, you know what, 45 minutes is a lot to ask somebody, even if they're giving them great value. So I cut it down to 30 minutes. I only give you the bare, the things that you must know, and all the other stuff I kind of pushed that aside. And I'm hoping that'll work a little bit too. But at least I wouldn't have known that, Steve, if I didn't realize my issue is top of the funnel. I can't get people in through Facebook. And once I get them into my actual training, they're opting out after about a half hour. That was easy to find those metrics. There it is. Now I know that I want to shorten up my video and make it a little more digestible.
Can you imagine being a business owner, and not only do you need to understand how to use math to discern this, but now you need to understand how to use a creative image to get someone's attention to actually come closer to you.
Mhm.
That's crazy. That the other day I was working with a physician's assistant, and we're doing videos for their website, and I asked her, I said, in school, did they spend time and teach you how to do Zoom videos? No. It's like, as a business owner, you have to be really open to learning these things that give you a competitive advantage.
I agree. It's funny. I think I was having a conversation last week. I was in Huntington Beach at a conference, and we were talking about this idea that so many people go to school, they get their degree, maybe they even get an MBA, and then they stop going to school because, I did my degree, I'm done, right? Guys, and the world has changed so quickly that you should be constantly trying to learn. You have to, in fact, because the world is changing so quickly. So we were talking about this idea. It used to be that once you got your MBA, You put that on your resume and you felt like you're done. My schooling's done. And nowadays, if you're not consistently keep training, whether it's through a program, through a mastermind, whatever these things are, you are so far behind the 8 ball in only a couple of years. So you got to think through this idea of my job is to consistently get smarter in my craft, learn about technology, learn about these things, or the industries are just taking off and they're moving so fast. You can't wait it out anymore. You can't. You'll be out of business 5 years because the things that I'm talking about today about Facebook, those things will not be relevant in 5 years. It'll be on something else. It'll be something totally different.
So if I was in my consulting role with you, I would go, all right, Will, I want you to consider maybe instead of a static image, consider maybe a short little 5-second clip from you asking a provocative question.
Oh, I like the provocative question. I'm going to write that
Okay.
down. Yeah.
And then the other thing is now when they come and start watching your videos, that maybe you consider chopping them up into little bite-sized pieces. You could have a either or, the long one,
Yeah.
or a long little. I tell you what, I got a little bit of time. I'll do a 2-minute video here. This one's a 3-minute. Then I like this. I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to go to the next one. And it gives them an option where they don't like, because I know when I look at a video, the first thing I do is look at the title, then I look at the time and I notice my mind's going, do we have time to spend here for 15 minutes or 7 minutes or whatever it is? I literally am deciding based on the length, whether it's good or not, I don't know. But that's the next qualification. So that might be something that you consider as you chop up an either or. We have little 2-minute sprints.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. That's great, man. Just there you go. That's why you hire good, creative people to help you out. If you're a small business owner, I love it. That's a great. I'm very good at the strategy side, guys. I'm very good at that side, but on the tactics, that's why I work with ROI Online, right? I love it.
Little M. Will's the big M. I'm the little M.
That's right.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so we're spring cleaning. This is a great spring cleaning conversation here. We're going through your sock drawer. We're talking about what maybe you could spring clean on your images and then on your deliveries. That's excellent. That's right. So we defined what success looks like for your marketing. We how to collect the data, how to analyze it, and how to take action based on that. So there you go. So guess what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time to put on a little music. We're going to watch Will dance. This is his favorite part. It's titled Questions with Will, but I think it should be titled Let's Watch Will Dance. Okay, these questions are submitted from our audience. They're excellent questions. They're very timely and relevant. So first one, you ready?
I'm ready.
Do you have any tips or advice on how to be a successful behavioral marketer?
Know your data. That's not my favorite tip. After we just had our conversation, the best tip as a behavioral marketer I would give you. It sounds simple, but it's not simplistic. What you need to do is you need to know how to articulate your customer's problem better than they can. If you can empathize with their problem and you can speak it so clearly that they're nodding before you're finished with it, that to me is the most successful behavioral marketers can do that. And then after that, I would only say that you need to believe in the value of your product, whatever you're selling, even more so than the person who created it. If you create a belief system that your product, whatever it is you're serving to others, is so powerful, it's so impactful in the other person's life that it can finally transform their business. If you believe that more so than they do, or more so than even the owner of the business, you're going to be a successful behavioral marketer. I promise you.
That's a great answer.
Thank you.
It's a hard thing to do, is to be able to succinctly say what they feel. They can tell you in certain words, but there's a deeper thing, and it's that emotional side, and that's what you have to be in tune to. Excellent.
Yeah, I think what happens is you get to a new company and you talk about, you learn all about, here's what my product does. Here's what the product is going to sell. Here's the 5 features it does better than anybody else. So you know how to talk about the product very well. but you don't know how to talk about the person's pain very well because you're so focused on what you sell. It's the hardest. It's simple, but yet not simplistic, right? It's very, very, very difficult to do. But when you nail that, it takes off. Your marketing, it's not marketing anymore. It's having great conversations and helping people.
I love that. Okay, so what's the biggest mistake new grads make when looking for their first job?
Oh gosh. So I teach grad students here at SMU. Here's what I tell you. I fell into this trap myself. It's that you believe that salary should be the number one kind of criteria for choice. So you're looking at everyone's offer based on salary. Why? It's really easy because you can compare other jobs to a salary, or you could compare a salary to what you think you want to make. Salary is probably the worst of all the variables you can look at. If you can get away with it, I think what you should be doing is looking at how excited are you for the industry. So you could work for insurance, or maybe you could work in tech. If you're excited about insurance, go work in insurance. If you're excited about tech, go work in tech, right? So you want a growing industry and an industry that you're excited about. Next, are you excited about the company? If you're not excited about the company, if it's a boring company, it's been out there, you don't get a feel that you really want to work at that company, you should be questioning that. And then third, you should be excited about your manager or the role, the responsibility they're going to give you. And if you're not excited about that, then you should be questioning that. If you focused on, is it the exciting industry, exciting company and exciting position, I would look at those things first before salary. Because if you're excited about these things, you're going to make tons of money. Trust me. If you're not excited, then your salary, you're going to be working in a place you're not growing, you're not excited, you're going to hate your job, and ultimately you'll probably hurt your career in the long run.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. You got everybody's off. You go to school and you get focused on paying the bills, what people are being paid. Yeah. And if you start focusing on the wrong thing, you can end up like I did in a place that I wasn't happy with where I was.
Took me about a year in my first job before I thought to myself, yeah, this wasn't the best move. But I moved where my friends were, and I thought that was great. And it wasn't a good career move, probably. Well, who knows? It got me to where I am today, so maybe it's fine.
So this next question, if you've read Will's book, you'll be introduced to this concept here. And so, what is your favorite psychological trigger?
This one's in the book, Steve. I love this trigger. It's a concept that I won an award back in 2011. So over 11 years ago now, huh? It's called hedonic bundling. Here's the concept. It's in my book, Marketing Mindstate. You can learn a lot more about the specific study I did. But here's the concept. Oftentimes what happens is you'll go to a grocery store, you'll go somewhere and it'll say, hey, buy these two items together for one low price. So buy these things, and it may say save $1. Here's what hedonic bundling does. You can do the exact same idea, but you say, rather than buy these things together, save $1, you could say, buy these things together, save $1 on this one item within the two. What you may go, who cares? What's the difference? Let me tell you what the difference is. If you can place that discount, that dollar, off of something that somebody feels slightly guilty about eating or buying, you can actually not only give them the value discount, but you can actually discount their guilt, their level of guilt. It's a psychological trigger. I won a major award for figuring this thing out. It's called hedonic bundling. I worked with another guy to help me out on this. It was amazing. So the idea is buy together, save $1 on this one item within the two that you feel a little guilty about. Much more impactful. And so, yeah, that's my favorite one. It's called hedonic bundling. It's in my book, a whole case study on it.
So I think this company that I bought some chips from the other day, I think they read your books. So I'm going down the chip aisle. And so there's Ruffles. It's like the price has gone crazy. A little bag's like $4 or $5 now. And I looked down at this other brand, and you could get 4 bags for $5, different flavors. And I thought, and they're not little bitty snack. So I thought, okay, I'm going to I'll try them. And they're really good chips. Mm-hmm. And I felt less guilty about buying 4 bags of chips instead of 1.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you think about this, like what's great about it, it's a psychology. I'm lowering your guilt. And people feel guilty when they buy products that maybe they otherwise don't need, especially when they're high priced, right? It's just like, well, wait, really? Am I going to buy that much? Should I really be using this? Discount their feelings of guilt, and you're in a totally different place. Small little tricks, small little triggers like this can make a big impact on people's businesses. I'm telling you.
Wow. Will, we got to hear it. Let's see. We got a comment right here. Hunter.
The emotional price. Yeah, Hunter knows a little bit about that key. It really is, guys, especially in inflationary pricing. We ought to do a show on inflationary pricing, actually, because that's impacting everybody in the way people shop. And our largest CPG brands are going to be impacted if they don't make. And right now, what they're doing, guys, is their best thing they're doing is just taking product out of the bag. You're paying the same price, but for less product. That's the only way they know. That's the only psychology they know. Don't increase prices. But guys, there's so much more you can do if you're in the CPG world that you can do to give people the value that they seek without taking product from that. It's cheating them out of product. There are other ways of framing up price to make people feel that this is a better solution for them under their budget constraints. So yeah, great point, Hunter. We especially in inflationary times.
Speaking of getting more than you paid for, Will's got a new Mindstate breakthrough session. Tell us about it, Will.
That's right. So just as we were talking about, one of the things we want to do, I know Mindstate marketing feels like it sometimes can be overwhelming. It's not overwhelming. You just may want to have a call. So here's what you do. If you go to mindstategroup.com, you will see boxes all over the place that says book a breakthrough call. What that does is it takes you to my calendar, my personal calendar, and then it says, it shows you times that I'm available. Click one of those times. It's a half-hour meeting. You and I get to know each other. And here's all we're going to do. We're going to talk about your business and say, this is where you currently are. We're going to talk about where you want to go. And I'm going to show you if there's a bridge using behavioral sciences to get you from where you are today to a much better place. If there is, great. I'll tell you all about it. If there's not a great fit, no problem. I will hopefully put you in touch with somebody who can help your business out. So these calls are free, and it gives you just a chance to talk about, how behavioral science can, improve your marketing to get your customers to listen, care, and act.
Well, I always enjoy these conversations. These are excellent. I would like to maybe talk about, Elon Musk has been flirting with Twitter. And so a lot of people advertise on Twitter. And that would be a great conversation to kind of talk about what your thoughts are on whether it will become a platform that more people will want to advertise on or not, and why. Yeah,
actually, that's probably going to be coming up here pretty soon. The way Elon is, he makes quick decisions fast, kind of like trigger point, right? So he does it. So yeah, it probably is a good. And if you're going to do it, how do you advertise on these social platforms? Because they're different. All these platforms are different, and the things that you need to do are different by platform. So yeah, I think that's probably a good topic we should be talking about soon. We'll get an expert on with us too. Maybe that'll be a good idea.
A state of mind on Twitter. Next week we have a guest.
We do have a guest. This person, guys, is going to be fabulous, right? So I'm actually going to share you with her role, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. Her name is Sarah. She's amazing. She's using behavioral science in the actual creative. So stuff that I talk about from a strategic point of view, she's using it in her company right now and putting it down to tactics in digital marketing. So she's going to talk all about how she was involved with behavioral science, how she got introduced to behavioral science, and now what she's doing. So if you're into tactics, it's going to be a great show for you to watch.
Awesome. So be sure to subscribe on the podcast channel that you love to listen to. We have the Mindstate podcast there, and YouTube. We've got the Mindstate channel on YouTube, so subscribe and listen. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dad, and we'll see you next week on the Mindstate Marketing Hour. Thanks, Will.
Thanks, everybody.